guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been a minute, but you know it's quarantine, so you gotta get it how you live. I don't actually have an explanation for why I was gone that long, so we're just gonna have to let the past be the past. Ooh! Forget the former things and do not dwell on the things of past. Come on, for behold, he is doing a new thing. Will you not perceive it? That's the word of the Lord. See, I was just letting it roll off my tongue, and then my spirit quickened and it reminded me of what the Bible says in Isaiah 43:19. I think it's Isaiah 43. My phone. I think it's Isaiah 43:19. The word of the Lord came. So we're gonna let the former things be the former things, and the things of past be the things of past, and perceive the new thing that the Lord is doing. Anywho, I'm here now, and today's video is just a little chit chat. Just updating you on where my head's really been at, what's burdening my spirit, what I've been thinking about, learning about during quarantine, especially in relation to millennials in the church, and hopefully encourage anybody who has the same feelings. So yeah, let's get into the conversation. Okay, so I have always had this burden for millennials in the church. I feel like in quarantine it just sort of doubled, it tripled, quadrupled, it just increased a lot, simply because I knew that the fact that we were doing church online and the fact that we did not have to meet physically after the fact would give a lot of people an excuse to not participate in the gathering of the fellowship, to not participate in actually going to church, because we were forced to learn how to adapt without physically going to church, and people were able to see that still church was possible. Church is not just the building, but the presence, the atmosphere, the people. Because we were able to prove that, a lot of people would use that as the premise for after the fact to not be a part of the local church, which for me is a big deal, just because I know the importance of a local church in any believer's life. I know the importance of the local church in making sure that kingdom comes, because really and truly the local church is where everything happens. Like, nobody gets super sharpened from listening to sermons online. Nobody really gets tested and the ability to walk out everything they read in the Bible without the local church. Nobody gets the opportunity to serve, to see God, the different facets of God, without the local church. The local church is very important for the believer, especially for the modern day believer. And so for me, it was a big problem that, not the fact that quarantine came, well, yeah, the fact that quarantine came, because quarantine came and ruined everything, but the fact that quarantine came and now gave us an excuse to forego or undermine the local church was already a major problem for me. If you're following me on Instagram, you would have seen that my post, I think it was like early July or early June, or maybe late July or late June, somewhere in June or July. Honestly, in quarantine, all the dates are so June or July somewhere, I had made a post about not really knowing like who I'm gonna raise my kids up in the Lord to know. I think Ravi Zacharias had just died, and so I was like, I'm really scared because I don't know who the next generals of our time are. I don't know who I can look to and aim to be like as an upcoming believer, as a disciple of Jesus Christ, as a person that is pursuing ministry. I was just talking a lot about how I was feeling in terms of what's next, our generation coming up, millennials in the church. And throughout the whole of quarantine, really, I've just been thinking a lot about the next generation, our generation, millennials in the church, and where we're at. And my mentor has been talking to me about seasoning my speech. So I'm gonna try to, say it seasoned, salt bae. So I need to just, salt bae everything that I say and try to say it in the most seasoned way possible. But just in my reflections from millennials in the church and where things are going and where things currently are, it's kind of whack, not gonna lie. I mean, it's good to see that young people are stepping up to the plate and are choosing to commit to Christ and are choosing to walk the narrow path and are choosing to be a part of church. And I mean, that's good. Obviously, that's what we want. We're trying to snatch souls from hell and bring them to heaven. But I just feel like somewhere in between, things are not being translated properly. We're not really getting it, and we're doing a lot of action. There's a lot of performative Christianity going on, really. But got it. We're doing a lot of action, but not making a lot of impact. That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like in the world today, Christian millennials are doing a lot. There's a lot of action, but there's not a lot of impact. And that leads me to believe that something is wrong, because there's no way that we can be doing and doing and doing and there's no impact. There's no way that we can see all these social media preachers and all these people on social media who appear to be living for Christ and appear to be committed to walking the narrow path and trying to pursue Christ and trying to bring others with them, and yet there's not a lot of impact. So something is wrong. Either people are faking it or yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah. Well, okay, so I'm sure we can all agree that the body of Christ is undergoing a shaking. This year more than ever, the Lord has exposed the hearts of his people. I don't want to say exposed his people. Obviously, a lot of things have happened in Christian culture, Christian community, to Christians, influencers, people that we follow, so on and so forth. I'm not here to talk about that. No. All I'm trying to say is that the Lord has exposed the hearts of his people. The hearts of Christians have been exposed this year. What people actually think, what people actually, like, the hearts of believers have been exposed this year. And what it has revealed, unfortunately, is that a lot of believers do not carry the heart of God. And that's really sad, honestly, because we're following Christ, we're Christians. So to see the body undergoing a shaking and to see what is being revealed, that our hearts are far from the one we follow, is actually a problem. It's also a pandemic amongst COVID-19. That is another pandemic that is going on. And it's something that we need to actually put our hands to the plow and try to rectify, because what is this? What are we if not carrying the heart of Christ? How can we represent Christ on earth? How can we let his kingdom come if we don't carry his heart? All throughout the Bible, all throughout scriptures, especially in the gospel, all 4 accounts, we see Jesus tell the disciples, no matter what they do, no matter what title they have, no matter how much action or movement is occurring in his name, it's all in vain if there is no love. So for us to not be carrying the heart of Christ in such a time as this is very alarming, because the end times are here. I know people don't like to talk about the end times. It's a little scary. It's a little bit, a lot intense Christianity, but the end times are here. So it's very important for us who are the forerunners and the ambassadors of Christ to make sure that if anything, we are carrying his heart. And I guess that's where a lot of my feelings and sentiments started, just seeing the body undergo a shaking and to see the hearts of believers being exposed and to see what was being revealed was terrifying. And I mean, all of us have areas where we fall short. I have areas where I fall short. You have areas where you fall short. But it is our responsibility to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling, first and foremost. Unfortunately, in Christian culture today, we have somehow made an idol out of purpose. Purpose is a good thing, and we all do have a purpose, and we all are here to fulfill our purpose, but it has somehow taken the forefront of our devotion to Christ. I believe, at least, maybe you disagree, but I believe that purpose has taken the forefront of our devotion to Christ, and we are devoted and committed to following him for the purpose of fulfilling purpose, but not for him himself. And that is how the hearts of believers drift. That is how you can be walking with God but not carrying the heart or the spirit of God. So for me, that's something I've been really working on in this quarantine, to make sure that my purpose does not become an idol for me. And I do believe that it did become an idol for me, but I was able to recognize that and really drill it into myself and really be intentional about making sure that I'm following Jesus for Jesus. Lest we forget, the incentive to following Jesus is Jesus. It's not fulfilling purpose. It's not being famous. It's not having kingdom clout. It's not going around the world preaching, teaching. It's not walking in your office in the fivefold ministry. All those things are extra, but the incentive to following Jesus is Jesus. And it's important that we remember that. One of the things that worries me a lot about where we are as a community, the Christian community, is the fact that a lot of people are leaving the church. A lot of millennials especially are leaving the church. I saw near the beginning of quarantine a lot of pastors, even people in leadership positions, people who have been walking with Christ for the larger part of their lives are leaving the church. And it scares me when I see believers, but even more so pastors, wanting to not only walk away from pulpit, but walk away from Christ. Because if we sing all these songs like Only You Can Satisfy and Jesus Be the Center, how is it that He is not enough? What is it that is happening that someone that not only is walking with God, but devoted to walking with God, so much so that they believe they have the call to even help others in their devotion to walk with God, is now turning away from Christ? That is a message that tells the rest of the world that these songs that we're saying are not true. That means that it's not true that only He can satisfy. It means that it's not true that Jesus be the center. Because how can He be the center and your leaders are the ones that are now turning away and saying, I no longer believe? And if that doesn't worry you as a believer, I know what you're doing, because you're not thinking kingdom. Like when we talk about thinking kingdom, you have to look at it in the grand scope of things. It means that everything we're here to do on earth is for the purpose of building a kingdom. It's for heaven to come down. So if the Lord is the ruler in heaven, we want the Lord to be the ruler on earth. Now, if the ambassadors, if the leaders of the religion are now saying, I don't believe, or I don't want to mess with this anymore, it is a problem. And more we see that. So it gives room for unbelievers and even new believers in the faith and even existing believers to say, hey, if they who have been walking with God a lot longer than me, if they who have a position, if they who have a title say that they can't do this, how much more me? And this is the deception that is currently seeping into the world that the enemy is allowing, which is why I say that there's a lot of action from believers, but not a lot of impact. Because if there's impact, we should be growing and not reducing. So, I don't know. Like, I know that's a lot. I know these are not conversations that a lot of people like to have, but these are things that worry me. I've always, like I said, had a burden for the church. I don't know why the church burdened me so much. I don't know why I think about these things. I don't know why sometimes I feel like, even myself, I'm too intense, I'm doing the most, I'm extra, nobody else thinks about this. I do feel like that, but I don't know. I did not make myself, I did not call myself. These are the things that bother me. These are the things that keep me up at night. These are the things that I pray for. So that is another thing that has just been really pressing in my mind. Like, why are we seeing so many leaders walk away? Like think about it. The best way to knock people out of something or to convince people to leave something is to knock out the key players. If you were in a company and you noticed that, you know, the CEO was quitting, the supervisors, all the managers were quitting, and you were just maybe a sales associate or just, you know, just a regular employee, and you're looking and you're seeing the key players, the CEO never shows up, quote unquote. Okay, that's not a good example, but whatever. The CEO never shows up, vice president is quitting, all the supervisors, all the managers are deciding to just be like out of here. You would be like, okay, well, if they're gone, I better start looking for a new job, like, you know? So this is how it's happening right now. And a lot of people are looking and seeing that, hey, the people that claim to know how to do this the best apparently don't, because one day it's a scandal, the next day somebody's walking away, the next day there's this happening, and it's all happening from the so-called Christians. And so It's just been really draining, to say, being a Christian in quarantine for me. It's been draining. It's been difficult. And that's not to say I'm walking away from Jesus. By God's grace, I hope that would never be my story. Once I committed to this, I committed to being in this forever. But it's just being draining, having to see all the time people are leaving, or scandal, or this happening. And I try not to judge people. I try not to. My friend's husband, Kosi, you guys know her if you listen to the podcast. Her husband says all the time, our job is always to walk in love. He was even telling it to me this morning. Our job is always to walk in love. It's important for us to walk in love. God is God enough to bring judgment on whoever, and God enough to deal with whoever, however. Our job is just to walk in love. And so I try to do that, but it's just draining to always see the people that you would quote unquote look up to, and to see they're the ones that seem to be dropping the ball in terms of walking away or having a public issue. So that's something I've been thinking about, and I try to be as transparent as possible with my platforms. So I'll be honest, like it's hard being a Christian nowadays. It's hard being a Christian, especially in quarantine. It's discouraging to see the people that you should not, and I don't want to use should look up to, but for lack of a better word, should look up to. As humans, we're always going to look to others. We're always going to look up to people. We're always going to draw inspiration from others. So it's hard to see these things happening. And so I've been in a lot of prayer for the church as a body, and for the millennials rising up, and for the believers rising up, and for those that I know that are called to ministry, like in my immediate circle or community. I've just been in a lot of prayer that God would keep us near the cross, and God would keep us close to Him, so that we may, by His grace, step into these positions and do them honor and do them justice. And this is not to bash anybody who was in a position and had an issue or whatever, but just that for us personally, that we will have the grace to do the work, and to not only start the race, but finish the race. You know? With that being said, it's just really been on my heart also to pour into the next generation, and to do the best I can in discipling and evangelizing, because this walk, honestly, it's about discipleship. And I think millennials, we've lost it a bit, again, because purpose and everything, but discipleship is what gets believers where they need to go. If you look all throughout the Bible, all throughout the Gospels, especially the New Testament church, it talks about Paul discipling people in the faith. He's discipled Timothy, and Timothy was able to go on and do whatever he was able to do. You literally have to hold someone's hand and carry them along with you. You need to pour into people. You need to be mentored. It's not just enough to bring people to Christ. You need to also disciple them, to keep them in Christ. I think the modern disciple really undermines discipleship in its true essence. I think a lot of people maybe don't understand what discipleship is, but discipleship is what kept the apostles. The discipleship is what made the 12 disciples become apostles. The Lord came to earth and discipled them for 3 years, so that in His absence the work will continue, and they went on to disciple others. They would not be who they were. They would not be able to function as apostles, to even fulfill their purpose, if they were not discipled. It's discipleship that will keep what we're doing growing. It's discipleship that will grow the kingdom of God. It's pouring yourself into others. It's taking the time to walk with people in their faith. You know, getting saved is only the first part. Getting saved is not the hard part. Staying saved is the hard part. It's harder to stay saved than it is to get saved. Getting saved is Jesus's job. He is the one that will convict your heart. He is the one that will touch you. He is the one that will do the getting saved part. Staying saved is not Jesus's job. Staying saved is your job. It's my job. So we need to do our part as the church, as a community, as an institution, to help people stay saved. because Jesus does his part. It's division of labor. His job is to get them saved. We obviously pulled programs and we obviously evangelize and we obviously do that, but nobody can save but Jesus. Your program is not going to save anybody. Your voice is not going to save anybody. What else? Preaching is not going to save everybody. Like, that does not do anything. Even your evangelism is not going to save anybody. All those things do is plant a seed for Jesus to come in, enter stage left, and do the saving. So getting saved is the job of Jesus Christ. Staying saved is the job of the believer. And that is why the enemy will attack you once you have gotten saved. He doesn't have a problem with you getting saved. He has a problem with you staying saved. And so he will bring every type of distraction to make you not stay saved. Because I know a lot of people say, once saved, always saved. I personally do not believe that. I don't, because we see people backslide all the time. We see people drift. Like, I don't. But to each their own. This is my YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel, I am saying that I don't believe that. Staying saved is the most difficult part. And so, as an institution, it is our job as the church, as millennials, to one, recognize discipleship, the importance and need for it, to tap in and lean in to the resources we have to be discipled, and also, once we are in there, look for Timothys and look for people to raise up in the Lord as well. A lot of millennials are not tapping in to the current generation. And I know there's a lot of a divide between the older generation and the new generation, and the way they do church and the way we do church. Trust me, I'm all about it. I understand. I know culture has seeped its way into the church and made it an interesting place, for lack of a better word. I know, I understand. Yet still, there are things that the older generation knows. There are things that the older generation knows that we will never know because we lack the experience. And these are things that we will need to know if we want to continue the work. They are currently holding the baton, and we are in a transition stage where the baton is being passed to the new generation. And while there are some things that probably should stay with them, there are some things that we do need. And it scares me that millennials are not able to realize that and not able to tap into the resources we have in the previous generation. Imagine if you were being promoted to a new position at work, like the person in the previous position was quitting, or they were leaving, or they were getting old, they're about to retire, whatever it is, and you were being promoted to that position. You know that you would be promoted to that position. Would you not try your best to learn everything from the previous person and then just build upon it so that you can be better? But I don't understand why we cannot bring that concept into the church. Why is it that millennials are unable to grasp that there are some things that the older generation knows that we need to learn? Yes, there's some things that we can filter out, but there are some things that we do need to learn and then build upon for the next generation. Unfortunately, we have a generation that decides that they are not going to tap in or lean into the wisdom of the generation before us simply because they're older, they don't understand, they have an accent, what be it. And I get it, like there is a divide, but that is so immature, and it's actually a lack of wisdom, because the enemy will capitalize on that, on the fact that the only experience and the only knowledge you have is based on your generation. And sorry to say that is not enough, because when I was growing up, even though I wasn't super in church like that, the way I saw the Spirit move for the generation before us, the way I saw the way the generation before us took their salvation, and the way I saw God move in the generation before us, I have not seen in this day and age God move the same way. Yes, there are many men and women of God that are doing amazing things in the world for Christ, doing amazing things in the world for the kingdom, but I have yet to see the type of revivals, I have yet to see the type of move of God's that I have seen in the past from the generation before us. So there is something that they were doing that we are not doing right. And it's our job to make sure that we learn, that we pick that up so that we can carry it on to the next generation, or else we will be doing this thing again. A lot of action with no impact. And that is not what I want Christianity to become, and that is not what I believe that God wants Christianity to become on the earth. And so we need to get off our high horses, because millennials, we can really be entitled. We can really feel like we got this. And obviously we are a wonderful group of people. We're an amazing generation. I say all the time, I believe that millennials carry the revival that the earth would like to see. Everything that the previous generation has done and put in, all the generals of each and every time, each and every decade, everything that they have been working to see, I believe that we have the ability to do it just because of the resources we have, the power of unity we have, the diversity we have. But it's not going to happen unless we see what we're missing and build upon what we're missing. It's not going to happen if we come in thinking we know everything. We need to humble ourselves and learn from the generations before us, and learn all that was passed down and simply build upon it, and then be the forerunners and the trailblazers for the biggest revival the world has ever seen. So it's time for us to really get off our high horses and humble ourselves. Find yourself into a local church, plant yourself in the church, submit to the elders of the church. Look for somebody in the church that is a fire, that is a walking fire, that understands the ways of God. That doesn't mean it has to be the pastor, but someone that understands the ways of God, and submit yourself to them and learn everything you can. Drink from that well, lean into wisdom, and use that for the foundation of what you're building. You will be taller if you are able to build upon what somebody else has already built. Even in the world, science, Isaac Newton says, I can see further than it is because I stand on the shoulders of giants. They are able to understand in the world. Science is able to understand that you can always do more if you stand on the shoulders, if you stand on the shoulders of giants. However, Christians are not able to see that we need to stand on the shoulders of giants. We just want to leave behind the giants in the faith. We cannot do that. We cannot do that if we want his kingdom to come. If all you want is to fulfill your purpose and to have your ministry and for your name to be out there, then you could do that. Fine, that's you. But if you're really thinking kingdom and you want revival to come, you cannot do that. So please repent if that is you, and make sure you go find a general to sit under and to learn from. Got a little crazy there, but honestly, that's where I've been at. Like, I think it's important for us to remember that the role of the believer is not to love God in our house. The role of the believer is to make disciples. Church equips us to make disciples. Love it or hate it, that is what the church is for. The reason why we go to church is to learn how to make disciples. The church equips us. The church teaches us. That is why we were given the gift of the fivefold ministry, which is active in the church, to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. To equip the saints for the work of the ministry. That's what the scripture says. So the reason why we go to church is to tap into that gift and to be equipped to do the work of the ministry. What is the work of the ministry? Making disciples. So that when you go into your workplace, you can make disciples. So that in your home, you can make disciples. So that no matter what sphere you find yourself in, you can make disciples. You can make disciples as a dentist. You can make disciples as a musician. You can make disciples as a model. Any profession that you find yourself in, any scope or area where you find yourself as a leader, you can make disciples. And the reason that you go to church is to learn how to be able to make those disciples. And so, honestly, that's where I'm at in terms of millennials in the church, in terms of my faith. I really want us to get it together. I really want us to do better. I really want us to realize the importance of church and really tap in. And I really want us to respect, honor, and utilize the people that we've been given as shepherds. The last thing I'll say is that the Bible says that he will give us pastors after his own heart. And I know a lot of people have had bad experience with church and with pastors, but again, the criteria for a pastor is the one after his heart. If you don't know the heart of God, you don't know what your pastor should look like. And so I don't want to put the blame on anybody. I'm not trying to victim blame, victim shame. I understand that a lot of manipulation happens, and it happens by the hand of pastors. But moving forward, it's important to understand that the criteria for the pastor is the pastor after his heart, or the one that carries his heart. So get into your word, know the heart of God, so that you can properly pick a pastor, pick a church, and utilize